Do you want to be a member of the Clean Plates Club? It's showtime, folks. Now, recently, I was introduced to a little horror film called American Gothic. Now, if you've never heard of American Gothic, I don't blame you, because I had never heard of the film American Gothic either. I got to give a shout out right out of the gate to my friends over at Heathen's channel. They're horror connoisseurs, and being part of that monster family, you've seen some of our guests here before, it was recommended that I watch American Gothic. Now, let me tell you this, guys. I would have never in a million years stumbled across American Gothic, but I'm glad I did because it is an interesting horror movie. Now, getting into the plot of American Gothic, there's a group of young adults from Seattle, Washington, who are going on a trip to help their friend, our final girl, really just kind of get out and back into society. She's suffered an accident where she lost her child, and she's getting out of this mental institution. And they're really just trying to let her have a good time because she's suffered this much loss. In the course of this trip, their plane has to make an emergency landing in which they have to fix what's going on, and they're stranded on this wooded island where they run across a unique family, just to say the least. Now, this family is run by none other than both Ma and Pa, as the characters are known, and they live a very, very different type of lifestyle, to put it lightly. Now, the plot revolves around our group, our survivors, our protagonists, trying to make it off this island after they find out that Ma and Pa are not exactly who they seem. Now, American Gothic is a little bit more of a slow burn kind of horror movie. I do have to say that. I have to say it was something that I didn't really have any thoughts about going into it. I read the premise, and to me, it was just like, okay, well, I mean, this is just another 80s kind of horror movie, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, it seemed like it was just based on looking at the cover of it and everything. It seemed like, okay, there's a dime a dozen of these. I'm not going to like it. Now, I was pleasantly surprised. I liked the slow burn nature of this film, and I want you to watch it, but at the same time, I'm going to talk a few spoilers here just because it's so, I mean, it's 1988, 89, and if you haven't seen it yet, I think the 2-week period of no spoilers is over. But, I mean, hey, you can always click off this video, go watch it, come back, let me know what you think. But what I like about American Gothic is that it is a slow burn and view about what this family has lived like prior to having seen our survivors, and just a slow unraveling of absolute madness. So this family is both Ma and Pa, they're an elderly couple, but they have adult children who act like children, like young children. And these individuals are mentally stunted in their development, and Ma and Pa treat them like children. And it's interesting to see them do the bidding of both their mother and father, and how they start to pick these survivors off one by one because they're not in agreement with how they live. This movie, by far, not a lot of violence or anything like that. It's really a slow burn. A lot of the eliminations come off screen and they kind of just insinuate what's going on. But what I do like about this movie is it's a lot of mental, kind of emotional horror kind of feel to it. It's definitely more psychological. There's not a lot of, gore or anything like that. But most of it is just kind of a character study on our final girl and her trauma and what these individuals on the island are doing while she's trying to survive. It's an interesting kind of character dynamic between this family that kind of sees themselves as purest type of people and what they feel the outsiders are bringing to their island and to their family and why they need to be removed or eliminated. I do think American Gothic is very, very underground, very underrated. You will never hear it in a conversation thrown around unless you're hanging around the horror community, or you're hanging around my friends Heathen and anybody in the Monster fam, apparently, because I had no idea what it was about. And in discussing this movie, there are a lot of things, a lot of horror movie tropes that happen that you're just kind of scratching your head about why these people are making decisions that they are. But what I do like is just that kind of character study of, especially our final girl. I think there are interesting shots in here that to the casual moviegoer you wouldn't catch. Maybe you're not really looking for those kinds of things. But for somebody that really likes to dig deep and somebody that likes to dig their teeth into a film, I think there's a lot more there than meets the eye. So for American Gothic, getting into my score, I think I'd have to give American Gothic a solid 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I would revisit it. I've seen it a couple of times now. And I recommend you guys go check it out. It's a hidden gem for sure. It's not for everybody. It's a slow burn. Not a lot of violence, not a lot of any of that. But it's an interesting watch just to see. I mean, it feels like the Chainsaw Massacre minus Bubba. It is a very kind of good character study as far as when it comes to the trauma of somebody and how she deals with it whenever put in a situation of having to survive and having to survive with their friends. I also like that there is a lot of, how should I say it? What's the phrase? Jeez, I'm blanking. It's making the video longer. Another thing I like about this movie is there's a lot of foreshadowing that you could miss if you're not paying attention the first time through. For somebody that's never seen it before, you'd absolutely miss it. But it's interesting because both Ma and Pa are saying things that are gonna happen and you don't catch it until after it's happened. And on rewatch, that's when I started noticing more of the foreshadowing. And I really like that a movie does it. It's not over the top with it. It's not like, oh, here, look, we're gonna do a zoom here. We're gonna make sure that you catch this. No, there's a lot of little, just blink and you miss it. If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss it. And it's rewarding for the viewer that is watching closely. And that's something I really like about the movie. It's something solid and something that I enjoyed. But an American Gothic is something, like I said, you could definitely pull that one out and say, have you seen American Gothic? And not a lot of people are gonna say that they've seen it because it's just so underground. It's one of those movies that you would have seen the cover of the movie and been like, there's plenty of these and I don't necessarily need to see this one. Do I say you have to watch one of the 100 movies you have to watch before you die? Probably not. But American Gothic is a fun little psychological horror film that I definitely recommend watching. It's something that I enjoyed and I enjoyed talking about. Be sure, actually, if you want to hear more about American Gothic, that you go check out Heathen's channel. We had a live stream maybe a couple weeks ago now where we were talking more in depth about American Gothic. There's a lot more spoilers in there, but you'll hear some more of Chuko's tips of survival if you go and check out that stream. The subscribe button while you're there. They're a good, they're friends to the channel and they've been very supportive and I always want to see them do well. So make sure to go check out Heathen's channel. I'll try to link it below. That way you guys can just click and go. And check out the live stream about American Gothic. It's been, it's something that I definitely recommend. But what do you guys think of American Gothic? Have you seen American Gothic? Do you disagree with what I'm saying? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you like and share this video, or consider subscribing if you want to see some more of good old Chuko. I'm always doing reviews of different movies. This was a recommendation from Heathen, and I checked it out, and I really enjoyed it. So if you guys have any recommendations, please let me know, especially horror movies. I like watching horror movies that I've never seen before and picking at them and seeing if I enjoy them. Sometimes I'm shocked with myself. For example, this one. I really didn't have any expectations going in, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But guys, if your plane ever crashes somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, always remember something my friend Pa used to tell me, and that's